I want to show you something that should not be able to think. It has no brain.
That part is easy to say and hard to feel, so let me be exact. It has no brain, no nervous system, no neurons, not one. It does not even have a second cell to talk to. It is a single cell, spread out flat, sometimes as wide as a dinner plate, pulsing faintly, yellow, in the dark of a forest floor. It is called a slime mold, Physarum. By every rule you were ever taught, it should be one of the simplest things alive, a blob, a nothing. And it is about to solve a problem that would make you stop and think. In the year 2000, researchers did something almost unfair to it. They let a slime mold grow until it filled a small maze, every corridor, every dead end, wall to wall. Then they placed a piece of food at the entrance and another at the far exit. And the blob did something a blob has no right to do. It pulled back. It drained itself out of the dead ends, abandoned the wrong turns, and drew its whole body down into a single thick tube, connecting the two pieces of food along the shortest path through the maze. The shortest path, found by a thing with nothing to find it with. No eyes to see the walls, no brain to picture the route, no plan, and still the answer. It had searched the entire maze at once with its own body and then erased everything that was not the solution. If that were the end of it, you could call it a trick. It is not the end of it. In 2010, a different team raised the stakes enormously. They took a map of the region around Tokyo, one of the hardest transport problems on Earth, and they marked every major city around the capital with a single flake of oat. A little pile of food sitting exactly where a real city sits. Then they placed the slime mold on Tokyo itself, and they waited. It spread in every direction at once, a restless yellow web reaching for all the food. And then it began to edit itself. It thickened the routes that carried the most traffic. It let the useless ones thin out and die. What it left behind in about a day was a network of living tubes connecting all the cities. And that network looked almost exactly like the real Tokyo rail system, the one human engineers spent decades designing. Comparable in total length, comparable in efficiency, and comparable in the hardest thing of all, the thing engineers lose sleep over: fault tolerance. Built so that if one link is cut, the whole web does not collapse. A brainless cell matched a century of human planning. In about a day, with no plan at all. So how does a single cell with no brain make a decision this good? The answer is almost more unsettling than the result. Because there is no decision, not the way you make one. There is only a rule, running everywhere in its body at once. The slime mold pulses. Its whole body throbs, rhythmically, pushing its fluid back and forth through its tubes. And the rule is simple. A tube that carries a lot of flow grows thicker and stronger. A tube that carries little flow withers and is reabsorbed. That is the entire intelligence. Strengthen what is used, dissolve what is not. No part of the slime mold knows where the food is. No part holds the map. Each tiny stretch of tube only reacts to how much is flowing through its own small length. And from that one local rule, multiplied across the whole body, the global answer rises on its own. The shortest path is simply the pattern that survives after everything wasteful has starved. The solution is not computed. It is grown. By now, you might be reaching for a comfortable word. Instinct. It is just chemistry, just a blob sliding toward food. So here is the experiment that takes that comfort away. Slime molds recoil from certain harmless things: caffeine, salt. Lay a bridge of it across their path, and they refuse to cross, shrinking back as if it were poison, even though it cannot hurt them at all. In 2016, researchers made a slime mold cross such a bridge to reach food. Again and again, day after day. And slowly, it stopped being afraid. It learned that the bitter bridge was harmless and began crossing it at full speed, as though the obstacle had never been there. That is called habituation. It is one of the most basic forms of learning that exists. We test for it in animals. We test for it in human infants. And here it was, in a creature with nowhere to keep a memory. No brain to store the lesson. And yet the lesson was clearly stored. Somewhere. Somehow. In the chemistry of the body itself. And then they pushed it one step further, into something that feels like it breaks a rule of nature. They took a slime mold that had learned, one that knew the bridge was safe, and they fused it with a second slime mold that had never learned anything, that was still afraid. When two slime molds touch, they can melt into one. And when the trained one and the untrained one became a single creature, the lesson crossed over. The naive half began behaving as if it too had learned. The knowledge had transferred, through nothing but two bodies flowing together. Feel the size of that. A memory, moving from one organism into another, with no brain on either end. No words, no teaching, just contact. We still do not fully understand how. We only know that it happens.
So that is one way to be a mind with no brain. Be a single cell so strange that intelligence leaks out of your chemistry. But there is a second way, and it has been moving under your feet your entire life. A single ant is not impressive. Take one away from its colony and it is nearly helpless. It wanders. It follows a few simple rules. It has almost nothing you would call a mind, just a speck of a few 100,000 neurons. And yet, the colony, the whole, builds cities, farms fungus, wages organized war, carries off its dead, and solves problems of geometry and supply that would stop a person cold. The intelligence is real. It is just not located anywhere. There is no ant in charge, no architect, no blueprint handed down. The queen is not a ruler, she is an egg layer. No single ant understands the plan because there is no single ant, and there is no plan. Watch what that can do. There are army ants that march in vast living rivers across the forest floor. When the path breaks, when there is a gap, a hole, a stretch they cannot cross, they do not stop. They build a bridge. Out of themselves. Ants lock their bodies together and span the gap, alive, holding, while thousands of their sisters pour across the bridge that their other sisters have become. And in 2015, researchers found the part that should not be possible. These bridges are not fixed. They move. The bridge slides, it lengthens, it shifts itself across the gap to find a shorter crossing, widening where the traffic runs heaviest. The ants inside it are constantly tested by the ants running over them, and the whole structure tunes itself in real time. It is solving a problem, trading a cost against a benefit. Every ant locked into the bridge is an ant not out hunting, a worker spent. So the colony balances the two without a single calculation happening anywhere. Build enough bridge to save the column time, not so much that it strands its own workforce. And the moment the traffic falls, the bridge dissolves. The ants that were the structure simply let go, rejoin the march, the building unbuilds itself, and nothing was ever in charge of any of it. And it is not only ants. The same brainless decision-making can look, for a moment, almost like a parliament. When a honeybee colony outgrows its home, half of it leaves, tens of thousands of bees hanging in a great cluster on a branch, homeless, with one of the most important decisions of their lives to make. Where do we live now? Choose wrong, and they die. A few hundred scouts fly out to search. Each finds a possible home, a hollow tree, a gap in a wall, and comes back to dance. The better the site, the longer and harder she dances for it. Other scouts go to check the places being advertised, and if they like what they find, they come back and dance for it too. Good sites pull in more dancers. Poor sites are slowly abandoned. The bees never compare the options side by side. No bee visits them all. No bee decides. The choice builds itself out of competing dances until one site crosses a threshold of support and the whole swarm rises and flies to a home that not one of them ever chose alone. A nearly perfect decision, made by no one.
This is the hardest thing to hold in your head, so look straight at it. In the maze, in Tokyo, in the living bridge, in the swarm, there is no controller, no center, no little manager weighing the choices. There is only this. Many simple parts, each sensing its own tiny patch of the world, each following a few local rules, each reacting to the parts right beside it. A tube that carries more flow grows thicker. An ant that feels more feet holds tighter. A bee that finds a better home dances a little longer. And out of nothing but those local reactions, multiplied by the millions, a global answer appears. An answer no single part could ever know it was giving. The biologist Deborah Gordon spent a lifetime watching this inside ant colonies, and she put it as plainly as it can be put. No ant tells another ant what to do. The colony is not run from the top. It is a web of tiny interactions, and the intelligence is the shape those interactions make. Not a thing in a place, a pattern in the traffic. So step back and let them all stand together, the single cell that maps a city, the river of ants that builds a thinking bridge, the swarm that votes with its bodies. Not one of them keeps its intelligence in a brain. One has no brain at all. The others smear their minds across thousands of separate bodies that will never grasp the whole. Which forces a question we almost never have to ask. What if intelligence was never a thing that lives inside a skull? What if it is something else entirely? A pattern. A way that information can flow and settle and solve wherever you have enough simple parts that can sense and react and push on each other. A brain would just be one place that pattern happens to run. A dense, fast, wet machine for hosting it. Astonishing, yes, but not the only address. The very same pattern can run on slime, on ant bodies, on a cluster of bees, on a forest of tubes feeling out the dark. And of course, that lands somewhere uncomfortable. It always does here. Because you are also made of simple parts. Cells. Each one nearly mindless on its own, sensing only its own tiny patch, reacting only to the cells right beside it. Tens of billions of them, none of them you. None of them aware that together they are reading this sentence. You feel like a single thing, in charge, at the center. So does a colony, if a colony feels like anything at all. So perhaps does a sheet of yellow slime drawing one clean line through a maze. The mind on the other side of the eyes, the one this whole series keeps searching for, was never only behind eyes. It does not always need a brain, or a face, or even a second cell.
It just needs enough small things in the dark paying attention to each other. And by that measure, it is almost everywhere. We are simply the version of it that learned to call itself I.